happening, YouTube? Today we're going to be working on a Ford Escape, but this procedure will also work on the Ford Mustang and just about any kind of vehicle that you can possibly think of where the trim has fallen off the side. If this video is helpful, please consider subscribing, clicking the notification, sharing my videos, and give me them sweet old thumbs up. And always remember, if anyone else can do it, you can do it too. If you want to help the channel out, go to my channel homepage, put on one of my sweet Clayway playlists, turn the volume down at night while you're sleeping, let them suckers play from front to back. If you ever need an engine for your automobile, you can check me out down here at Accurate Engines, and you can look me up on Clay's AC and Auto Repair on the Facebook and send me a personal message. If you have a question, I can't help you with your baby mama drama, but I may be able to help you fix your car. Okay, so one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to remove this door handle right here. And if we look up underneath there, we've got a little screw cover that we need to just pop open, and you can take a pick or a screwdriver and whatever and stick it up behind there, and you should eventually be able to get the second thing open. And then that'll expose the Phillips screw that's underneath there. Now with the screw removed out of there, we should be able to pry it back, and there's a little plastic piece here on the back trimmed. I'll show you that when we get that off of there. That holds it onto there. Now with that removed, we should be able to remove the rest of this material here. Now we need to get the glue off the back of here and the glue off of here to be able to successfully reattach this portion of the door panel. Now we want to make sure that we take some masking tape, tape it off right down here. So if you're using pneumatics or when you go to spray the adhesive on here, you don't get it all over the outside of your trim. Now when you go to stick masking tape up underneath there, you want to try to get it as far underneath that lip as possible, so you could use a little screwdriver and tuck it up underneath there. We're also going to cover the lock and the door handle portion with this, so if we're using pneumatics, it doesn't destroy our trim or the outside of our door handle. Now all this dark material is all the glue, and you could literally take your finger and just wipe up the glue, but that's going to take you quite a long time. So we're going to try a little bit different process here and get this glue off of here so we can put more glue on it and hopefully make it last another couple of years. Now it seemed extremely possible that you could use soap and water on this. I think that's possible, and just get some Scotch-Brite from underneath the sink in the kitchen and wipe it down. You want to get as much of that off there as possible. This is like a hard fiberglass material back here. We don't want to take off too much of this wider portion of it. We just want to get the glue off there, and the glue is differentiated between how sticky it is. I tried several different methods of removing this glue. Personally, I found rubbing it off with my fingers was absolutely my favorite, and my second favorite was using the die grinder, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit. You could also heat it up with a hair dryer, but be careful, this stuff melts pretty good and it wants to stick to your fingers. So for this, I'm going to try just a little slight sanding, which works really well and just takes it off. You just got to remember that you don't want to take off much of the fiberglass. So I think I'm going to go this direction and get all this glue off of here. I didn't end up taking off every little piece, but once I did do a little bit of grinding, I tried to blow it off with the air hose here, and you know, it worked so-so. I need to do a little bit more work before I go to put this panel back on. Now, you're probably not going to get it back to a nice green color, but if you're overzealous with your air tool, you're going to wear it down like that and take off all the fiberglass. So be mindful of that. We've got it all down pretty good. So now we're going to start cleaning the fabric. Now, once we get all the glue off the back of the rear insert, we could theoretically throw it inside the washer. I do not know what that will do, so be mindful of that. It could stretch it out, but what do you got right now? The very least, or you know, if you weren't able to fix this, you could essentially paint that door panel and do away with the fabric, but you would have to get it down a lot nicer than this to be able to put paint on there to make it look right, but you could paint it any color you wanted. So once again, we can try to rub this stuff off of here, which would actually be the best. So I think I'm just going to sit here and rub it off. No pun intended. I definitely think rubbing it felt the absolute best and worked the best. I think adding some heat to it will make it feel even better and easier to come off. Hot, very hot. Now that I feel like I've got most of the glue off of there, I'm gonna lay down some paper towel or something so I can spray this with the adhesive that I'm gonna use to put it on the trim panel. Now I'm gonna use Scott Super 77. I also use this to attach headliners when I do them. And we're gonna spray it generously on the edges, but not try to make it super like wet so it bleeds through the material. So we just give it a nice even coat about 4 inches above the top, and even, think of yourself as a robot as you're doing this, about 1 pass over the top of it. Now we put on a generous amount on the door panel. Try to not get it everywhere like I did. Now I put the fabric up to the top, hanging it on both corners. At this time I want to make sure that it overhangs a little bit on the top because I end up having to push it up there with my putty knife. Now I take the putty knife and I cram it up in the corners and use it to drag it up there. It's a little bit difficult to see, but if you watch me long enough, you'll get the idea. Now there's a point where it was kind of wrinkly, so I pulled it up and then I started putting it down with my putty knife. I would imagine using a plastic putty knife would have probably been better for this, even though I didn't end up ripping any of my material. Now I'm going to continuously work it down to the bottom and around the door handle itself, tucking it into the bottom, and I did end up with some extra flash hangover at the bottom. Also, around the door handle, there was a little bit of exposed fiberglass, but I really wasn't all that worried about it because I had the plastic bezel for the door handle to cover it. Listen, folks, if anyone else can do it, you can do it too. This wasn't all that hard, and if it turns out bad, what difference does it really make? It's certainly going to look better than what we started with. I wasn't perfect in this situation. I had some gaps on the ends because I didn't have the material over to the end far enough, but I just took a little bit of black paint and dabbed it on there. Now, once we get it into the location that we want it, we can always remember that our trim bezel is going to cover up that stuff. And then down here, it's going to stretch a little bit, but we could take a razor blade and cut that off if necessary. Just make sure you don't do what old Clayboy did and not get it all the way to the tip. Just give it a little gradual pull to this direction as you work it down on there, and it'll be pretty forgiving. Now we can take our heat gun and set it in place, and that'll make sure our glue locks down and our panel stays on and no more hanging down panel. Now I'm going to take a razor blade and cut it along the edge and then pull off the excess material that I've created. So we want to take the heat gun and run it across the top of here, primarily on the edges right here. Don't stay in one place too long. That'll take both parts of glue and make them interact with one another, and then create a good seal once it cools down. Well, now it looks like it almost never happened, except for I didn't get mine over that far. I'm certain you folks will do a much better job than I did, but you get the idea, and it's not that hard to do. Probably only take about 10 or 15 minutes to do each one of these. Well, I think it turned out okay. Is it perfect? No, it's not. I'm sure you'll improve on my way I did this and even make it a little bit better. Remember, the Clayway is the only place that you can help hardworking, needy families get automobiles just like that Ford Escape that we just worked on back there. Or if anyone else can do it, you can do it too. God bless and have the best of days.